discovered. As she gave birth, her ex-husband doctor revealed an inspiring, life-changing AC. The sterile scent of the hospital mixed with the faint sounds of distant beeping machines filled the air around Emily. Anxiety coursed through her veins like a wild river, and in that moment, all the laughter and joy she found raising Mia felt miles away. She gripped the edge of the hospital bed, feeling the heat of a new life ready to enter the world, but that heat was overshadowed by an icy dread about Mark's presence. Her ex-husband, the man who had once promised her forever, was about to step into her life again, at the most vulnerable moment. Would he bring peace or chaos? Her mind raced with questions. Friends had urged her to keep him away. He deserve to witness this miracle, they said. But deep down, that nagging feeling of inadequacy wrapped itself around her heart. Emily was a struggling single mother, staring down the barrel of another child, while Mark had flourished. Once inseparable, it felt as though he now lived in a world entirely different from her own. As she labored, the tightening waves of pain twisted her stomach, while her heart seemed to thrash against her ribcage. She breathed in and out slowly, thinking of Mia's bright smile and soft hugs. Just as she found some semblance of control, Mark strolled through the door with those familiar, piercing eyes. In that instant, the air shifted. Shadows danced on the walls as they locked eyes, a moment where the past met the present, and everything felt achingly familiar. At the peak of her anguish, he spoke with a calmness that froze her in place. "Emily, I want to talk." The words hung heavy in the air, and the beat of her heart thudded loudly in her ears. She braced herself, ready for the fight she thought might come. But instead, Mark embarked on a story that shattered her preconceptions. He told her how, for the past year, he had funded a community clinic aimed at helping families in need. His voice wavered as he recounted the joy of giving parents a chance at healthcare when they felt the weight of the world pressing down on them. The selfless ease of his recounting made Emily gasp inside. Could it be? Had she misjudged him completely? The bitter resentments she carried felt like a heavy weight unshackling with each revelation. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As the nurse prepared for the final moments of birthing, Emily felt a tempest raging within her. She despised feeling vulnerable, yet there was a flicker of hope, a thread pulling toward a fragile possibility of reconciliation. She exhaled slowly, wrestling with emotions that demanded she abandon her pride and open her heart, even if just a crack. The first cry of their newborn pierced the silence of the room, an innocent sound bursting forth with vibrant life, intangible yet overwhelming. Tears blurred Emily's vision, both joyous and aching, as the echoes filled their shared history with new meaning, a question flashing through her mind. Could they unite as parents, or would their past define their future? The air thickened with tension, but beyond it loomed a flicker of hope as she reached for Mark's hand, uncertain yet emboldened. Emily felt the warmth of Mark's hand enveloping hers, and in that moment, a new wave of emotions coursed through her. It was as if their past disputes and lingering heartaches vaporized in the face of fresh life. The tiny morsel, a life they had created, lay swaddled in a thin blanket, the soft whimpering sounds reminiscent of a fragile, newly awakened dream. Mark leaned closer, his breath unsteady, tinged with a mixture of awe and disbelief. "She's beautiful, isn't she?" His voice was barely above a whisper, as if speaking too loudly would shatter the precious moment. Emily nodded, tears streaming down her cheeks, blending joy with the strained weight of their history. In the haze of labor and delivery, the world outside felt like a distant echo. All the pain she had endured, the sleepless nights, the lonely mornings vanished momentarily as she cradled their daughter. The sanctity of motherhood blossomed like a flower breaking through the frozen ground, delicate yet resilient. Mark's gaze was steady, searching hers. "I want to be here for both of you." The sincerity in his eyes pierced her resolve. How could it be that after everything, he still wanted a place in her life? "I know I messed up, but I've changed, and I'm trying to make a difference. For you, for Mia, for her." The sound of Mia's gentle coos filled the room, reminding Emily of the promise she had made to herself, to protect her daughters fiercely. But could that promise coexist with opening a door for Mark? Her heart wrestled with a mix of gratitude and doubt. "What does that even look like for you?" she asked, her voice steadier than she felt. "Can you honestly show up for us this time?" The echo of her past filled the queries with a sense of urgency, a need for genuine accountability laced in each word. "I won't let you down again," he promised, shoulders squared, the shadows of their past hanging heavy between them, yet his expression clung to hope. "I'll prove it to you. I don't want to be just the man who made mistakes. I want to be a father. To both of our girls." The weight of this promise hung there like a fragile thread, and Emily felt her heart race at the thought of possibilities. The small room began to fill with nurses and commotion, but in that brief moment, the chaos receded, leaving just the two of them and their newborn. As if sensing the shift in their dynamic, Mia let out a tiny hiccup, her little fists waving in the air. Emily couldn't help but smile, her heart swelling with love. She looked down at her daughter, a bridge to healing, and felt a spark of hope ignite. Could they truly forge a new path, one where the mistakes of yesterday no longer dictated their future? The thoughts swirled around like the excitement in the room. Emily ached for closure, and a new beginning all at once. "Okay," she replied softly, "but we'll take this slow." The acknowledgement of her vulnerability hung in the air. "There are no guarantees. I can't afford more heartbreak." Mark nodded, an understanding spark alight in his eyes. "I'll take whatever time it takes," he smiled, hope dancing behind his eyes. Just then, the nurse interrupted their shared moment with clipboard in hand. "All right, let us get Mom and Baby settled for a bit." But as the room buzzed back to life and the path towards healing began in baby steps, another thought tugged at Emily's heart. Was she truly ready to let go of the past? As the nurse carefully took Mia for her checkup, the question loomed like a dark cloud overhead. How do you rebuild trust where it's been shattered? The tension returned, the weight of old wounds resurfacing just as new possibilities began to flare. With a mix of apprehension and cautious hope, Emily braced herself for the ride ahead. Would this be their chance to redefine their family? Or was it all just wishful thinking? Emily sat in the hospital room, her heart racing as the door swung open and Mark stepped inside, cradling a small bundle. Mia had returned from her checkup, her tiny face glowing with health, a reminder of the hope they both wanted to cling to. "Look who's back," he said, a tentative smile forming on his lips. He approached slowly, as if each movement carried the weight of their past. Emily's hands instinctively reached out, and she felt an electric rush when their fingers brushed against each other. It was a reminder of the connection they once shared, now tangled with uncertainty and possibility. "It feels so surreal," Mark said softly, glancing down at Mia. She's perfect. His gaze lingered, filled with a sense of wonder. Emily watched him, searching for sincerity in his eyes. Did he really believe all their words would lead to something more than just a momentary flicker of hope? Just then, a nurse entered, a warm smile on her face. "I hope you two are ready to take on some parenting duties." The light-hearted words broke the tension in the air, a welcomed distraction. Emily nodded, her pulse racing as she braced herself for the impending chaos of parenthood. For the next hour, they shared Mia, taking turns burping her, changing her diapers, and whispering sweet nothings. Each shared smile, every gentle touch, dismantled a piece of the wall Emily had built around her heart. It was both terrifying and exhilarating. "Do you have a plan for today?" Emily asked suddenly, her voice steady despite the vulnerability that churned inside her. Mark looked contemplative, as if weighing his words carefully. "I thought maybe we could talk about how we start over. You know, set some ground rules for parenting. And for us." A flicker of nervousness passed over him, but the determination in his eyes stayed firm. I can't pretend everything will be fine just because we have Mia now. She took a deep breath, steeling herself to be honest. Trust doesn't come easy for me. Not after everything. I understand. I don't expect it to. He ran a hand through his hair, clearly battling his own emotions. But I want to work for it. I don't want to push you. I just want to be a part of this, our family. And if we have to start from scratch, I'm willing to do it. The weight of his promise pressed on her heart. Did she dare to believe in a new beginning? Just then, the door opened again, revealing her mother, who instantly lit up when she saw Mia. The shift in atmosphere was palpable, as both grandmother and daughter embraced in a gentle moment. Look at you, little one. Her mother cooed. So beautiful, just like your mom. Emily watched the interaction, trying to anchor herself to the joy brewing in the room. As if sensing her emotions, Mark stepped closer. Emily, he whispered, I know this isn't easy. But please don't shut me out. I want to be better, for you and for her.
Just give me a chance.
His words hung in the air, fragile and heavy. She felt torn, an internal battle raging between hope and fear. What if we fall apart again? She finally confessed, her voice trembling. Then we'll figure it out together, he replied. The sincerity in his eyes cut through the haze of doubt. We learn from our mistakes, right? She considered his words, the notion of learning, growing together. Could this really be the moment they started over? As her gaze drifted to Mia, a wave of love and protectiveness washed over her. It was more than a chance for them. It was a chance for their daughter. Little did they know, the journey ahead would demand more than just promises. It would test their love, their patience, and their commitment in unforeseen ways. Emily felt a twinge of unease gnawing at her. What if the past caught up with them? The question fluttered in her mind, a dark whisper that challenged the new hope they were attempting to cultivate. As laughter and chatter filled the hospital room, Emily's heart complicated itself once more, gripped in both fear and longing. Could they really build something strong enough to weather the storms of yesterday? With every passing moment, the uncertainty grew. What secrets lay ahead, waiting to unravel the fragile peace they had just begun to forge? The laughter of her mother mingled with the soft coos from Mia, filling the hospital room with a warmth that felt foreign yet comforting. Emily glanced over at Mark, whose eyes were locked on their daughter with the kind of light that made her heart ache. It was a sight she wanted to embrace, but the shadows of their past clawed at the edges of her mind. What if we focus on the present? Emily suggested, trying to redirect her own spiraling thoughts. The weight of their past hung heavy, but maybe they could craft something anew, something real. We should plan for Mia. Mark nodded, his expression shifting from hesitation to determination. That's a start, right? Let us think about her needs first. What does she need from us? The question hung suspended in the air, and for a moment, they both were lost in imagining a life that revolved around their baby girl. Emily knew that their journey had just begun, but the thought of navigating this territory with Mark felt both terrifying and necessary.
Routine?
Mark offered, sparking an idea that lit up Emily's mind. What about morning and nighttime rituals? Like reading to her? Emily smiled at the thought, picturing a cozy atmosphere illuminated by the soft glow of a lamp.
And singing.
Even if I can't carry a tune to save my life, she chuckled, her heart softening at how quickly the laughter spread between them. As they bounced ideas back and forth, the moment felt different, swirling with newfound energy. She watched how Mark animatedly spoke about diaper-changing strategies and baby food flavors.
He was really trying.
It was a small moment, but it felt monumental, like a crack forming in the wall between them. But as their plans unfolded, doubt began to seep back in, creeping its way through her resolved facade. What if they couldn't sustain this? What if real life uprooted their fragile plans and tossed them back into turbulence? Emily, you okay? Mark's voice broke through her reverie, concern etching his features. The way he looked at her was so genuine, almost as though he could see the whirlwind brewing inside her.
Yeah, me fine.
Just thinking. She paused, feeling the weight of her words. It's just, everything feels so delicate. like if I breathe too hard, it might all shatter. I get it, he replied, his voice dropping a notch. Life is delicate. But so is love. Sometimes you have to take the risk to make it grow. His words resonated, scratching an itch she never knew was there. But even as she felt herself lean closer, another thought rushed in. What if risking it led to heartache again? Mia deserved stability, not a repeat of their mistakes. The door creaked open and a doctor stepped in, clipboard in hand. Ready for a quick check, Mia? The doctor said cheerily, glancing between Emily and Mark. The moment snapped, and they shifted focus toward their newborn, eyes sparkling with AWEAS. The doctor examined Mia. Laughter and questions filled the air again, yet Emily couldn't shake her nagging worries. Though fleeting, a glimmer of hope was building, and she wasn't sure it could survive if faced with the truth looming ahead. Once the examination was over and the doctor had left the room, Mark turned to her, seriousness deepening the lines of his forehead. Emily, can we sit down and really talk?
No distractions?
The urgency in his tone sat heavy like a stone in her chest. She knew they had danced around the real issues so far, avoiding the raw truths that waited just beneath the surface. Taking a deep breath, Emily nodded. Yeah, okay. Let us talk. As they settled into a corner of the room, their eyes locked, an unspoken tension simmering between them, she could feel the stakes rising. Deep down, she understood that this conversation could make or break their fragile steps forward, and as fear gripped her heart, she wondered what if the conversation opened doors they weren't ready to face. Seated in the small corner of the hospital room, where sunlight streamed through the window and reflected on Mia's crib, Emily felt the weight of all their unspoken words pressed down on her. She met Mark's gaze and tensed, the air thickening with emotion. Look, Mark began, running a hand through his hair. I know things haven't been perfect between us. But after Mia came, I realized we owe it to her to try. His voice was firm yet gentle, an anchor in the storm of their uncertainty. Emily swallowed hard. Try what? I mean, we've tried before. The bitterness tinged her words, born from memories of arguments and unanswered questions that had led them to this moment. Yet, as she looked at him, she saw something in his eyes, something more earnest than before. I'm not talking about just attempting to get along, Mark clarified, his brow furrowing. I mean really trying. Like, letting go of the past. What happened, it doesn't define us. It doesn't have to. His words landed with a heaviness that resonated deep within her. Could they truly let all that go? Could they wipe the slate clean for Mia? I want Mia to grow up feeling safe and loved, Emily said softly, her voice cracking. But how can we give her that if we can't even figure us out? I believe we can, he replied, a fleeting smile breaking through the tension. I'm here now.
I am committed.
I want to build a future together, not just for Mia, but for us. Her heart raced as she processed his words, like a flicker of light piercing through a dense fog. The thought of letting go, of trusting him again, felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Mark, she hesitated, I need to know you mean it. I need to know it's not just a temporary fix. We can't go in circles again, not for her. I promise you, I mean it, he said, his voice steady. I want to be here. I want to go to parenting classes, read those parenting books, take each step with you. If something isn't working, we talk it out, no holding back. She wanted to believe him. They could be good parents for Mia. The vision formed in her mind: playdates, birthday parties, family dinners. Would that be their reality? But what if we struggle? Emily asked, a shadow of doubt creeping back in. What if we end up in arguments again? What if there's a moment when we just fall apart? Then we fight for our daughter, he stated firmly. We figure it out together. Because this time, we're not just focused on us. We have someone else to think about. We can do this. His sincerity gripped her, pulling her closer to a decision she hadn't thought possible. Okay, she whispered, confidence pooling in her heart. Okay, let us try. Mark's face lit up, relief washing over him. Yet, as she returned his smile, just beneath the surface, the fear lurked. The challenges of the past were looming shadows that could rear their heads at any moment, and then, as if the universe had deemed it the right time, the door swung open, and the nurse entered, a bright smile on her face. "Looks like you two are ready for some adventure with your baby girl." Emily felt the weight of their conversation shift, but something new sparked inside her in anticipation, mixed with hope. As the nurse began detailing the next steps in their hospital stay, Emily caught Mark's eye again. They shared a knowing glance filled with promise, a silent vow forged between them. But as the nurse left and the security of their pact settled in, a question began to pulse in Emily's mind. How would they navigate the moments when life would test that promise? The promise to change could easily slip through their fingers if not tended carefully. And so, with Mia nestled in their arms, the real journey began anew. Would they find the strength to face the next obstacle that would inevitably come their way? Emily was still holding Mia, the warmth of the swaddled baby against her chest grounding her like nothing else could. Mark, too, seemed caught up in the moment. His hand gently brushed against Mia's hair, a softness in his demeanor that she hadn't fully noticed before. In that space of vulnerability, hope flickered like a candle in the dark. "What's next?" Emily asked, trying to anchor their focus back to the immediate future. As if responding, a nurse returned, a chart in hand. "We'll be doing some tests, checking Mia's vitals before you head home. It's routine, but she's perfect." At those words, Emily felt the tension in her shoulders relax. "Perfect, that's good to hear," she said softly, glancing at Mark. The corners of his mouth lifted in a barely there smile, but his eyes showed something heavier, more thoughtful.
Can we talk while we wait?
Mark suggested, his voice low. "Sure," she replied, as the nurse began to prepare the necessary equipment. "I want to be open about everything. You know?" His baffled expression when they first reunited flashed in Emily's mind. Opening up had never been their strong suit. "When we were arguing, I was terrified. I felt like we were failing before we even started. But now I think we're riding a new wave." She nodded, letting the weight of his words settle. "We should be honest about our fears, too. I worry about the bills, and whether I'm actually cut out for this. I mean, the parenting books are overwhelming," he admitted. "But what I fear most is hurting you again, failing at being a partner." Emily felt a tremor in her heart. The same fears had gripped her too. "I was so unhappy before. If we aren't careful, I fear those shadows will return," she said quietly. Mark's brow furrowed. "We have to keep communicating. And we have support now. You and me together." They exchanged glances, and it was then Emily realized this was truly a fork in the road. They could remain shackled by past resentments or forge a new path forward. She took a deep breath, filled with a mixture of hope and apprehension. "What if, for once, we put each other first?" "Exactly," he said, his enthusiasm palpable. "This baby, she's our priority. Let us find strength in being parents." "I refuse to let us go back," Mark declared, his sincerity spilling into the air between them. Then the nurse entered, interrupting their moment. "All done, little one. You'll be heading home soon." Mia stirred, blinking her eyes open. Emily chuckled softly. "Looks like she's ready for the world." Mark's expression shifted as he took in the sight of his daughter for the first time. "She's beautiful. EMS so beautiful." There was wonder in his voice that made her heart swell. But Emily hesitated, the underlying anxiety washing over her again. What if one small fight spirals us back into the chaos? Mark placed a hand over hers, steady and reassuring. "Then we tame it together," he replied, unwavering. "What matters is we try. We really try." They shared a meaningful silence, filled with determination. Yet, the truth still lingered in the air like a cautionary tale. The world outside the window felt vast, and she wondered what awaited them. As they prepared to leave, a thought seized Emily. "How do we know this won't crumble like before?" Mark met her gaze, unwavering. "We don't, but we can guard our new beginnings fiercely. That's our choice." With Mia nestled between them, they ventured into the uncertainty of parenthood, a journey filled with potential flashes of joy, but also rife with challenges. Emily found herself hoping that those challenges would be met with unity rather than division. What awaited them outside, new trials or small victories? She couldn't be sure. But one thing tinged the moment with excitement. The journey was just beginning. Would they embrace each day as a chance to prove to Mia the beauty of love, even amidst imperfection? The car ride home felt surreal. Emily sat in the back seat, cradling Mia as Mark drove. The baby's soft coos filled the silence, weaving a tapestry of warmth around them. With every mile closed on their hometown, Emily felt a wave of memories crash against her. The last time they left this place together, shadows loomed over their lives. Now they were a family, embarking on a new chapter. "Can you believe we're parents?" Mark broke the silence, his eyes flickering toward the rearview mirror. There was a softness in his gaze that made Emily's heart flutter. "Not really," she replied with a smile. "I keep waiting for someone to pinch me." He chuckled, but there was a seriousness beneath it. "I guess this means we need to figure things out pretty quickly." She pondered this, glancing down at Mia, who was nestled peacefully in her arms. "We can take it one day at a time," she suggested. "We don't have to have all the answers today." He nodded, gripping the steering wheel tighter. "True, but I want to be prepared. I want to be the father Mia deserves." The weight of his words hung in the air, a mix of resolve and fear. As they turned onto the street that led to their home, Emily caught a glimpse of the playground where they had shared countless picnics, laughter echoing in her mind. "Remember how we used to plan all our future adventures?" she asked, her voice softening as nostalgia washed over her. A shadow crossed Mark's face. "Yeah, before everything." "Before everything," she echoed, a hint of pain creeping in. Silences could be deafening, and the unresolved tensions lingered between them like a half-formed thought. Quickly, she shook it off, reminding herself of their promise to each other communication. They parked and stepped out into their yard, the familiar scent of cut grass and lilacs washing over them. The first step toward their home felt heavy, yet exhilarating. "Are you ready?" Mark asked, stepping closer, eyes full of determination. "Ready as I'll ever be," she replied, her voice laced with a mix of excitement and dread. Inside, the air buzzed with possibility, yet uncertainty wrapped around them. Emily placed Mia gently in the crib, stealing another glance at her daughter's serene expression. "We did this, Mark," she murmured, a wave of pride blooming within her. Mark stepped beside her, gazing down at Mia with adoration. "She's perfect. Just like you," he added, the compliment laced with sincerity. At that moment, Emily found herself wondering what kind of parents they would be. The challenges loomed on the horizon, like dark clouds threatening a storm. "What if we fail?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Mark's hand enveloped hers, grounding her. "We won T. Not if we stick together." The sound of the baby monitor crackled to life, pulling them back into the present. Emily's heart raced. "We need to establish a routine, and I think we should stick to it." "Agreed," he said, excitement returning to his voice. "So what do we start with? Sleep schedules? Feeding times? And maybe we schedule us time too," Mark interrupted, catching her eyes with earnestness. "We can't let everything be about Mia. We're important, too." His words echoed deeply, striking a chord that thrummed with truth. Emily's heart warmed. "You're right. Balance is key." As they began to map out a plan, laughing nervously over the usual exhaustion of new parents, the evening light spilled through the windows, casting golden hues across the room. In that flurry of planning was a newfound sense of teamwork building. They were crafting a union forged through love, fear, and ambition, a family that would face the world together. But as the clock ticked, Emily's thoughts shifted again to the shadows of their history. What would they do when the storm clouds gathered, as they always had? How would they face those moments of doubt? The baby monitor began to ping softly, a reminder of the responsibility before them, with all its weight and light. "Let us take it one step at a time," Mark proposed, his voice firm yet tender. Then, as if sensing the boiling emotions beneath their surface, his phone buzzed a message, a reminder of their intertwined past. Emily's heart raced as she caught a glimpse of the screen, the notification lighting up with a name that sent shivers down her spine. Could they truly leave all of it behind? In the quiet air, uncertainty hung heavy, waiting to be unraveled. What other surprises lay ahead? Mark glanced at his phone, the tension in the room thickening like fog. The name illuminated on the screen was a familiar specter, a bittersweet reminder of a life before Mia, one filled with unresolved issues and painful memories. "Who is it?" Emily asked, her voice trembling slightly, the gentle coos of Mia suddenly feeling distant. She knew this moment could tip the balance of their fragile, new reality. It's Jason," Mark replied, struggling to keep his tone steady. His eyes darted back to the road outside, avoiding the weight of her gaze. Emily's heart sank. Jason, her ex-husband, the man whose shadows still loomed over their relationship. What does he want? She found herself asking, even though part of her dreaded the answer. I don't know. I didn't think he'd reach out so soon. Mark's voice was laced with uncertainty, a tightrope walk between concern and defensiveness. Emily took a deep breath, trying to quell the fear rising within her. You should respond, she said finally, though her heart raced, uncertainty gnawing at her. Would this just stir up old wounds, or could it offer them clarity? Mark hesitated, his fingers hovering over the screen. What if it's about custody issues? What if he wants to let us just see what he says? She interrupted gently, her voice laced with encouragement. We need to know. With a reluctant nod, Mark opened the message. His face transformed as he read. Wow, he breathed, his voice almost a whisper. What? What does it say? Mark looked up, his expression a mix of disbelief and something else relief. He says he's opening a new clinic and wants to make amends. He's offering to help with parenting tips if we want. Emily felt a rush of emotions flood through her: anger, confusion, hope. Could this be genuine? Tips? She scoffed, tension tightening her shoulders. From him? After everything? I know, but maybe he really is changed, Mark said, searching for a way through this emotional minefield. What if he understands more now than he did back then? The very thought sent a shiver down her spine. You want to trust him? After what he put us through? I just think we should consider all our options, Mark replied gently. We're starting a family now, and a fresh perspective might be something we need. Emily fought the wave of resentment rising within her. This was a new beginning, but Jason's name complicated everything. I can never forget the chaos he brought into my life. Into our life, she said, her voice sharper than intended. Neither can I, Mark admitted, tension in his own tone mimicking hers. But we can't let our past dictate our future. His words hung in the air, resonating with a truth that stung just as much as it offered hope. I want to be open, Emily confessed, softening as she looked down at Mia, who was now stirring, her little fists gently flailing. But all it takes is one wrong move from him, then we stand together. Like a team, Mark replied, and his eyes met hers, fierce determination burning within them. For a moment, the shadows lifted, and they were just a couple, a team, staring at the same horizon. But then the baby monitor crackled, sending Emily's heart into a panic. Let us focus on Mia for now, and we can talk more about this later, Mark said, reaching out to hold her hand, squeezing reassurance into her palm. As they tended to their daughter, the weight of the message lingered in the back of Emily's mind. Would they open a door that could lead to healing or chaos? Just as they settled back into their routine, the phone buzzed again, this time with a phone call. Mark's expression sharpened. It's him again, he said quietly, uncertainty written all over his face. Emily felt the familiar dread creep back in. What could he want now? As Mark looked at her, she saw the decision forming in his mind, a flash of determination mixed with apprehension. Do you want me to answer? Mark asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The answer felt monumental, a fork in the road they hadn't anticipated navigating so soon. What if this call changed everything? Mark stared at his phone as the call rang on, each beep echoing louder than the last in the silence of the room. He could feel Emily's apprehension radiating next to him like a warm blanket slowly turning cold. Just answer it, Emily said, her voice steadying, though he could sense the ripple of nervous energy beneath her calm facade. Taking a deep breath, Mark pressed the green button and raised the phone to his ear. "Hello?" "Hey, Mark," Jason's voice came through, rough at the edges, yet strangely softer than he remembered. "I hope I'm not interrupting anything." "Not much," Mark responded cautiously, feeling the tightening knot in his stomach. "What can I do for you?" "I know it's been a while. I didn't expect my last message to reach you so soon, honestly," Jason began, his tone sincere. "But I wanted to talk about something important." Emily stiffened beside him, her eyes narrowing as she listened intently. Every fiber of her being wanted to shout for Mark to hang up, to shield their quiet life from whatever chaos Jason might be conjuring. "I know about your daughter," Jason continued, his voice dropping to almost a whisper. "I want to be there for you both. I want to help." Mark's eyebrows furrowed. "Help how?" His voice came out sharper than intended, reflecting the unease churning inside him. "I've been through a lot in the last few years, turned things around. I'm finally opening a clinic that focuses on parenting and family care." Jason paused. Mark could hear the inhale on the other end. "I want to offer my services. Not just tips, actual support for new parents. I know it's a big ask, but I do really like to help if you'll let me." "Why should we trust you?" Emily interrupted, her voice cutting into the conversation like a knife. Mark glanced at her, seeing the fierce determination in her eyes. "After everything you've put us through?" "I get it," Jason responded, the weight of her words palpable even through the phone. "But I've changed. I know that doesn't mean much now, but I promise I've been working on bettering myself. I have something to offer this time." Silence engulfed the room, each second feeling like an eternity as Mark and Emily processed Jason's words. Did he really mean it? Could he truly be different? Mark felt caught between two worlds, his old life and this new one determined to take flight. "Can you give us just a little more time to think about this?" Mark finally replied, his voice firm yet cautious. "We just need to digest what you're saying." "Of course," Jason agreed quickly.
Just think about it.
"I want you both to know that I wish the best for you guys and for Mia, no matter what happens next." "Okay," Mark said, feeling the weight of each word as they settled down into the concrete floor of their home. As Mark hung up, his heart raced. The tension hung heavily, like a storm cloud poised to unleash.
Well,
Emily's expression was a mix of doubt and curiosity, reflecting emotions that danced in both their hearts. They both knew the wheels of fate were turning. This moment could set them on a path of healing, or push them into darkness. Maybe we should at least hear him out," Mark offered cautiously, "just to see what he really means." "But what if it's a mistake?" Emily shot back, her voice rising slightly. "What if we open a door we can't close?" "I don't know," he admitted, feeling the same uncertainty mirrored in her eyes. But if there's any chance that things could change for the better before he could finish, the baby monitor crackled again, breaking the tension. Mia's soft whimper echoed through the air, a reminder of what truly mattered in that moment. Mark glanced at Emily, each of them wrestling with 1,000 emotions, both scared and hopeful for what this could lead to. "Let's not rush into anything," Emily said softly, kneeling to check on their daughter. "But we need to talk about this more. You know him better than I do." Mark nodded slowly, realizing they were standing at the edge of something monumental. "Whatever happens next, we face it together," he said firmly, locking eyes with her. They exchanged a small nod. A part of both wanted to believe in the possibility of a new start, while dread lingered like a shadow. The phone buzzed again, the screen illuminating a new message from Jason. "Let us meet. I want to share everything." "Now what?" Emily whispered, worry spread across her face as a fresh wave of anxiety crashed over them, leaving them to wonder if taking this leap could also bring a fall. Emily sat at the kitchen table, her heart drumming loudly, a mix of anticipation and unease swirling in her stomach. After the roller coaster of events over the past few days, every decision felt monumental. They had just begun to construct a fragile semblance of a family, safely nestled in the warm glow of Mia's coos and laughter, and now Jason was knocking on their door. Mark sat across from her, his brow furrowed as he expertly managed the phone to his ear while pacing the floor. Yeah, I understand, Jason. We'll think about it, he said, listening intently, his gaze shifting toward Emily, searching for her expression. She responded with a slight shake of her head, conveying her apprehension in a way words could not. This was their moment to guard what they had built. Finally, Mark hung up, his shoulders drooping. He is scheduled to meet with us tomorrow, he said, sounding both deflated and resolute. We need to figure this out together. What do we want? What I want is to protect Mia, she responded firmly, but softened by the fear ebbing deep inside her. I've worked so hard to create this happy place for her. I don't want anything or anyone to disrupt that. Mark nodded, understanding but conflicted. But he could also be a resource. Maybe he really is changed, he suggested, his voice attempting to salvage some optimism. We owe it to ourselves to hear him out, right? The mention of hearing Jason out felt like dropping a stone into their already shaky foundation. Emily felt heavy.
You know how I feel about him.
Her voice was firm, but the hope genuinely came through, too. I know, and I get it, Mark said, reaching for her hand. But can't we consider this as an opportunity to confront the past? To redefine it together? Almost instantaneously, the weight of what lay ahead gripped her, squeezing at her heart. Would Jason truly wield any power to become a part of their lives again? Would it be a chance for growth or a backslide into the chaos they had briefly escaped? Okay, she relented, though uncertainty tangled around her heart. Let us hear him out. But with one condition. Mark leaned in. What's that? We keep our heads firmly above water. If this gets messy, we walk away with Mia. Together. Mark's expression morphed into one of reassurance. Always. We stand as a team. He pressed the warmth of his palm over hers, a reminder of their promise to fight for this. That evening, after Mia had fallen peacefully asleep, Emily and Mark sat on the couch. They navigated the precarious path of future uncertainties, filled with quiet laughter and shared dreams. Yet, the looming specter of Jason hovered as they mapped out life as new parents, a family built on redemption. The next day felt punctuated with an electricity in the air. Emily found herself in the living room, nervously rearranging the same decorative pillows while constantly glancing at the clock. The minutes crawled forward until finally, the doorbell rang, jarring her out of her anxious frenzy. Here goes nothing, Mark sighed, looking as uncertain as she felt. They exchanged one last glance before he opened the door, revealing Jason, standing there with a slight smile, a white envelope tucked under one arm. Hey, Jason greeted, his voice much softer than she remembered. Emily felt herself stiffen. Hey, she managed to respond, eyeing him warily. Thanks for agreeing to meet, he continued, stepping into their home as if it belonged to him. The familiar tension coiled tighter between them, yet she noticed only a flicker of the man who once stirred chaos in their lives. I came prepared, Jason said, sliding the envelope across the table. I wanted to give you both some basics on parenting tips we're employing in my upcoming clinic. Mark glanced at Emily, who mirrored his tentative curiosity. They opened the envelope together, flipping through neatly organized sheets filled with advice, encouragement, and warmth. As they scanned the handwritten notes, a flicker of understanding ignited between them. This is different, Emily said, genuinely taken aback by how tangible and sincere the suggestions seemed. I want to be a different person for myself and for Mia, Jason added, looking genuinely earnest. I know I messed things up, and I want to atone for it to help. Emily felt the last of her defenses waver, confusion darting through her. Was it really possible for someone to change that profoundly? How do we know this isn't just a facade? She asked, her heart and mind racing. I get it. But look, I have my struggles too, Jason acknowledged, his voice earnest and steady. I'm committed to change. It's all I think about. As they continued their conversation, Emily found herself slowly drawing back from her walls, her heart opening just a crack. The awkward moments turned into laughter as they discussed diaper changes and sleepless nights, a strange camaraderie beginning to bud. Jason shared stories from his past, expressing his hopes and regrets, weaving a relatable narrative. I think there's room for all of us in this, but only if we're willing to work through our mess, he said, locking eyes with Emily, hoping to forge an unbreakable connection. The afternoon light glimmered softly in through the window, painting the room with a gentle warmth as they spoke, illuminating the tension, making it feel less foreboding. With every exchange that unfurled, Emily could sense the threads of possibility knitting together, stitching over the fragments of their once fragmented family. As Mia let out a soft gurgle from the nursery, reminding them both of that precious bond they shared, Emily felt a growing resolve. "Maybe we can create a new dynamic," she suggested, exchanging glances with Mark. "But it has to be on our terms." "Everyone working for Mia." Jason nodded, relief flooding his features. "I agree. We work together not just for the baby, but to focus on all of us, to clear the air." As they wrapped up the conversation, there was a sense of purpose flooding their hearts, ushering in a nascent friendship built on mutual respect. Mark extended his hand toward Jason. "I think we're willing to try," he said. Emily held her breath, waiting for Jason's response. "Good," Jason said, shaking Mark's hand firmly. "Let us make this work." Emily felt a flicker of hope blooming, intertwined with her own resolve. Could they turn the page on their tumultuous history and create a beautiful narrative? The journey surely wouldn't be easy, but they had taken the first step, one grounded in sincerity and love. As they stood together, an odd sense of unity forming between them, Emily knew they could weather whatever storms lay ahead. As long as they held fast to each other and the love they shared for Mia, perhaps they could carve out a future filled with trust, harmony, and newfound hope. And in that moment, for the first time in a long while, they felt ready. It wasn't just a hope, it was the start of something new. They would walk forward, hand in hand, toward the heartfelt destination they dared to dream of. Now, this is where you come in. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and support the content you love. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second, because only true fans understand how crucial your support is for the channel. Join us in this journey of emotions.